Mark 15:33 to 47. At noon, darkness came over the whole land until 3 in the afternoon. And at 3 in the afternoon, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, "Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you forsaken me?" When some of those standing near heard this, they said, "Listen, he's calling Elijah." Someone ran, filled a sponge with wine vinegar, put it on a staff, and offered it to Jesus to drink. "Now leave him alone. Let's see if Elijah comes to take him down," he said. With a loud cry, Jesus breathed his last. The curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom, and when the centurion who stood there in front of Jesus saw how he died, he said, "Surely this man was the Son of God." Some women were watching from a distance. Among them were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James the younger and of Joseph, and Salome. In Galilee, these women had followed him and cared for his needs. Many other women who had come up with him to Jerusalem were also there. It was preparation day, that is the day before the Sabbath. So as evening approached, Joseph of Arimathea, a prominent member of the council, who was himself waiting for the kingdom of God, went boldly to Pilate and asked for Jesus' body. Pilate was surprised to hear that he was already dead. Summoning the centurion, he asked him if Jesus had already died. And when he learned from the centurion that this was so, he gave the body to Joseph. So Joseph bought some linen cloth, took down the body, wrapped it in the linen, and placed it in a tomb cut out of rock. Then he rolled a stone against the entrance of the tomb. Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joseph, saw where he was laid.
You know, there are only 2 times in the Gospel of Mark where someone is said to cry out. The first was John the Baptist, who was said to be crying in the wilderness to prepare the way of the Lord. Seems that now the way has been prepared. And so Jesus cries out himself, expressing the pain of God-forsakenness, which would be his last words spoken in this gospel. Only a few verses after, Mark describes John the Baptist as being one who was crying in the wilderness and who was confused with being Elijah. He recounts the baptism of Jesus, the moment when Jesus uniquely identifies with sinful humanity. There at Jesus' baptism, Jesus saw the heavens being torn, and the words of the Father were spoken over him. "You are my Son, whom I love. With you I am well pleased." We hear at his death, Jesus cries to the Father, are confused with being him calling on Elijah. And at his death, the veil in the temple was publicly torn from top to bottom. And his identity was proclaimed by the Roman centurion who said, "Surely this man was the Son of God." See, it was always going to end this way. We might have chosen ignorance, focused on the immediate rather than on the horizon, but that wasn't going to change anything. His death, it was inevitable. It was always going to happen. It's the whole reason why he was born, taking humanity to himself. The reason he did that was that he could be for all humanity our faithful response to the Father. The whole reason why he was baptized and chose to identify with us was that he could absorb the consequences of sin and experience God's forsakenness so we don't have to. Jesus is God. And God is love, so of course his life would be in the service of costly love. It was always headed this way. It was always going to end this way. He even said as much. We just couldn't believe it until it happened. But it's happened. On this very hour, Jesus died. And his final words were, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Often we skip over the pain of this moment. We try to bypass the emptiness of this afternoon and of tomorrow by quickly shuffling to the events of Sunday. But today isn't Sunday. It's not even Saturday. Today is Friday. And Jesus has died. Jesus took your sin so that you might be forgiven. Jesus experienced God-forsakenness so that you never have to. Jesus died so that you might truly live. You know, there were people there when he died. They heard his cry. They saw his body go limp. They carried the weight of his lifeless body and laid it to rest in a tomb. There were people there when he died. How do you think they felt in that moment? What are the kind of prayers that you think they might have prayed? What would you have prayed? And what would you like to pray this hour, 3 p.m., the hour in which he died?